analysis is basically what you need to do on your course project. So you simply need to repeat this. You can repeat it with the same data set and ask different questions, do different analysis, pick different columns, or you can pick a different data set. So let's open up the course project page. And then the objective of the course project is exactly similar to what we did today. You find a real world data set of your choice. You use NumPy and Pandas to parse and clean and analyze the data. And you use Matplotlib and Seaborn to create visualizations. And then you ask and answer interesting questions about the data. And an optional but highly recommended step, because you've put in so much work, and if you can just consolidate all of your learning into a blog post to showcase your work, that is something that you can do as well. So I just want to give you a quick overview of the course project. And then we have a few exciting things to close out. So now the course project, this is a starter notebook. And by the way, we've done a walkthrough of the course project as well. So you can just check that out too. So on the course project, you can take the starter notebook and just run the starter notebook on Binder. And you can also run this starter notebook on your local computer. So you do not have to run it on Binder. So I just want to show you how to run it on your computer. So here I have a terminal. Let me just zoom in a bit. Yeah, so here I have a terminal, and this would be a terminal or a command prompt or an Anaconda prompt that you would need. And if you want to download this to your local computer and run it locally, then what you need to do is click on the clone button. So click on the clone button and just paste that command. Now you will need to run this command, but then to run this command you need the Jovian command line tool installed. So actually I'm just going to skip that command, and I'm just first going to run pip install Jovian upgrade. So that's going to upgrade the Jovian Python library for me. And once the Jovian library is installed, you can see that we now have this command line tool called Jovian that you can use. So now once again I can copy this clone command, come back here, run Jovian clone, and just simply the title of the project. So username / the name of the project, and press enter. Now that is going to download the files. So you can see that these files got downloaded to my desktop, the 0 to Pandas course starter. If you wish, you can change the name of this folder. So let me just, let's say I'm going to analyze the state of JavaScript survey. So I'm just going to call this state of JavaScript 2019. This is the data that I'm going to analyze for my project. So then I go into this folder, state of JavaScript 2019. Now here you need to install all the different libraries, and we suggest installing these libraries inside an Anaconda environment. What you can do is you can manually create an environment. So conda create -n, and then simply give it a name. So let's say course project, and you can set a Python version for it. So these are the same instructions that are provided in each lecture notebook. So let's just create a Conda environment here. So we've called Conda create -n course project. So that's going to create a Python environment where we can install all our libraries. Okay, so now the environment has been installed. Then we are going to activate the environment. So here we now run Conda activate course project. So now the environment has been activated. Inside this environment, we might want to install all the libraries that we want to use. So we're going to use Jovian. We're going to use Jupyter. Let's say we'll use open data sets, or you don't have to, but you might. We are going to use Pandas, we are going to use NumPy, and we are going to use Seaborn, and we are going to use Matplotlib. So we just install all the libraries after activating the environment. And once these libraries are installed, let's just give that a second. Yeah, sometimes this might take a while for you to install, and this is one of the reasons we recommend using Binder, because all of these steps are taken care of for you. So once these libraries are installed, we can now start a Jupyter notebook by typing Jupyter notebook. Okay. So once again, a quick recap of what we did. The first thing that we did was we installed the Jovian Python library. Let me just come back here. I'll open this once again. So once you run Jupyter notebook, this will print out a URL for you, which you can open up on your browser. But a quick recap, the step 1 was to install the Jovian Python library. And of course, you also need to have Anaconda installed. So make sure that you have the Anaconda distribution of Python installed too. Step 2 is to then clone the notebook using the Jovian clone command. Step 3 is to enter the directory and create a Conda environment. So that is done using Conda create. Step 4 is to activate the environment and install all the libraries. So you say conda activate the environment name and then you install libraries using pip install. And then step 5 is to just open up the Jupyter notebook. So by typing Jupyter space notebook. So that's going to print this URL. So you just take this URL here and open it in your browser. And now you can see here we have the 0 to pandas course project.ipynb file. So now at this point it is pretty similar to the place that we get to when we click the run button and click run on binder. So run on binder is a one-click experience, that's why we recommend it, but with a few more steps, and I think now you are familiar with these steps. Now I think you're comfortable enough that you can figure these things out. If not, you can always ask on the forum. So with a few more steps, you can run it on your local computer. Okay. So now we have this 0 to course pandas course project file. And the first cell is a text cell, the markdown cell, and you can remove this cell before submission. Now this cell describes what you need to do. It gives you the guidelines. So the first step is to select a real world dataset. So you have to find and download an interesting real world dataset. And we have given some recommendations for datasets here. If you see this forum topic on the recommended datasets for the course project. So we have given you links to many places from where you can download datasets. For example, there is Kaggle, there is the UCI machine learning repository, there is a GitHub, there is this GitHub repository which has a list of datasets. And now of course we are sharing this open datasets library with you. We will be adding more datasets there. So there are a lot of places from where you can get datasets. And we've also picked out some interesting datasets for you that you can download and use. So today we've used the Stack Overflow developer survey, but there's also the COVID-19 data. This is updated on a daily basis. There's a state of JavaScript survey, and then there is stocks data, and then there is countrywide COVID data. There is some agriculture data. There is data science job data. There is, sports data. There is games data, video game data. So there's a lot of interesting data to analyze. And then of course there are a lot of places where you can download your own personal information as well and analyze it. So please go through this list and try and identify something that you find interesting. So anyway, you take these data sets and then you have to make sure that this data set contains tabular data, preferably CSV, JSON or Excel files, that it can be read using pandas. Then you perform some data preparation and cleaning just as we did. So you load up the data frame, you look at the number of rows and columns, you decide which columns you want to use, you decide how you are going to handle any missing or invalid data. Maybe you might want to parse some dates, like we parse some numbers. You might want to create additional columns. You might want to merge multiple data sets. Then you need to perform exploratory analysis and visualization. So this is exploring the distributions of numerical columns using histograms, using bar charts to visualize categorical columns, using his scatter plots to see distributions across multiple columns, and take note of interesting insights from this analysis. And then also ask and answer questions about the data. So you have to ask at least 5 interesting questions and answer those questions by either computing the results using NumPy, Pandas, or by plotting graphs using Matplotlib or Seaborn. And wherever you're using any library function, just explain briefly what it does. It's always helpful for the reader. And then finally, take your inferences and summarize them and write a conclusion. So this is a really important part of consolidating everything you've learned into a single paragraph or a single section. And also share ideas for future work on the same topic using the same dataset or maybe other relevant datasets. And make sure to share links to any resources that might be helpful for people reading your analysis. So definitely share links to documentation, maybe share the link to the course page so that people who are not familiar with Pandas or NumPy can use that. And then the last step is to make a submission and share your work. So whether you're using Binder or you're running on your local computer, from time to time you need to run jovian.commit. So you just set a project name. So for instance, my project name would be, let's say, State of JS Survey 20 Analysis. Set a project name and then use the Jovian library to run jovian.commit and commit the project. And that's going to take this either from Binder or from your local computer and put this onto your Jovian profile. So you simply take this link then, and then you need to take this link and go back to the course project page. And on this page, you need to put in the link and click submit. So once you do that, you will see it showing up in your submission history. So make sure that this is a jovian.ml link. So this should not be a local link. Don't put a localhost link. Don't put a binder link. Don't put a Kaggle or Colab link. Please commit to Jovian and put up a jovian.ml link, and make sure that that link is to a notebook hosted on your own profile. Otherwise the submission will be rejected. Okay. And what we will do is then we will evaluate your project. So what does the evaluation look like? So here we have shared the evaluation criteria as well. So we will evaluate that your dataset contains at least 3 columns and 150 rows of data. You must ask and answer at least 5 questions about the dataset. Your submission should also include at least 5 visualizations, and your submission should include explanations using markdown cells apart from just code, right? So just code is not good enough. Please write explanations, and that helps you understand your data, that helps you gather insights from your data, and it is also going to help others. Like tomorrow, if you want to showcase this project on your public profile, or you want to share it on LinkedIn or wherever, or you want to link to it from your resume, you want to make it nice, you want to show that you've put in work, you are presenting it well, because presentation, believe it or not, is a very important part of data science. So do not skip that. It's not just about writing code, it's about gathering inferences and presenting them and making interesting observations, and maybe making hypotheses and digging deeper. So the data tells you just some facts, but you have to analyze it and really come up with what those facts mean and infer them, right? In the context of either the dataset itself or for your company or whatever you're working on. And finally, your work should not be plagiarized. So do not copy paste from somewhere else. Of course, you can borrow functions, and every dataset has been analyzed by many different people. So you can do this analysis which people have already done. You can even look at those notebooks. You can look at notebooks by other people, but do not plagiarize. And I think you will be able to tell best if you are plagiarizing. So as such, the entire project should not be a copy paste. And the biggest loser in that case will be you yourself if you're basically copy pasting stuff. So please don't do that. Now, apart from doing that, do share your work online. So this is a lot of effort that you've put into this project. So please share it on your social media. You can just share the jovian.ml link. Once you've committed it to Jovian, you can simply, once you've committed it to Jovian, you can simply use the share button and share it on any of these platforms. Share your work on the forum as well, because there are tens of thousands of course participants. So we would love to see thousands of projects being shared on this thread. So do share your work on the forum and browse through projects by other participants and maybe give feedback, and that will also be a great way for you to learn. When you see other people creating visualizations, similar or different visualizations, you will get to learn from their code, you will get to learn from their analysis and so on. So please do that. And one highly recommended step is to write a blog post. And a blog post is a great way to present and showcase your work. So you can sign up on medium.com to write a blog post for your project. It's really simple. You just sign up and then you click new story and you can just start typing. And you can simply, as a starting point, you can simply copy over the explanations from your Jupyter notebook into your blog post. And in terms of the code and the graphs, you can actually embed them. So you can take your code and graphs from your Jovian, the notebook submitted to Jovian, and you can embed them within your blog post. So you just watch this video for a quick tutorial or just follow this guide. So you can see here that this is a blog post on Medium, and inside it is embedded a code cell, or you can even embed an entire, you can embed even like some code and the outputs, like things like graphs, or you can only embed just the graphs if you want to see it. So the benefit of writing a blog post is that with Jupyter, it contains a lot of code, it contains a lot of pre-processing steps, but on your blog post, you can decide the narrative, and you can simply use the right code blocks, and you can use the right write graphs from your Jupyter notebook, and you can embed them within your blog post to tell the story that you want. It doesn't have to follow the same structure as the Jupyter notebook. And it will be a great thing to showcase on your profile. It will be a great thing to share on your social media, put up on your resume, or just mention while you're applying for an internship or things like that. And you can check out our Medium publication. We've linked to it for how to write a good blog post. There are many good examples. All of these have been written by people from the community, and this was during a previous course. And in fact, all of these are, in a lot of these cases, these were the first or the second blog post written by people. So please do check it out, and don't be afraid, you can write it too. It just takes a little more effort, maybe a few more hours after you do your project, okay? But do write it as far as possible. And as I mentioned, we've shared some recommended data sets, and we've shared some example projects. So you can go through these projects, and you can keep revising this video as well to just get a sense of how you should analyze your data. And you can either use this notebook as a starting point. We've created this template for you where you can put in the project title, write some introduction, and then there are sections for each step. And remember to commit your work at each step so that you do not lose your work. Or you can also start from a blank notebook. That is perfectly all right. It's all a question of what you feel most comfortable with. And do remember to just remove this cell before your submission so that the instructions are not included in your final submission. Okay, so with that, we've just revised the course project as well, and you have time till the 3rd of October. That should be sufficient time, so please do put in the work. If you've come this far, you should definitely do a course project while you have all of these things in your head, and it will really reinforce all the ideas that we've learned. Now, I just want to do a quick recap of the course for a couple of minutes. And a lot of you started out without even Python programming experience. So we started out with an introduction to programming with Python. We just looked at the first steps with Python and with Jupyter notebooks, using it like a calculator. We explored data types and variables. We saw branching with conditional statements and loops. And then in the second lecture, we looked at writing reusable code with functions, working with the OS and the file system. And then you solved the first assignment where we solved some word problems using variables and arithmetic operations. We manipulated data types using methods and operators, and we used branching and iterations to translate ideas into code. And we also learned how to explore the documentation, how to get help from the community. So after learning Python, we looked at NumPy. So we saw how to go from Python lists to NumPy arrays. We saw how to work with multi-dimensional arrays, and we saw what were the different array operations, matrix operations that you can do. We learned about slicing, we learned about broadcasting, and NumPy by itself is a very powerful library. And we also saw how to work with CSV data files. Then we did an assignment on NumPy array operations where you explored the NumPy documentation and demonstrated the usage of 5 array functions. And you created a Jupyter notebook with explanations about 5 functions on how to use them and how not to use them. And we shared hundreds of notebooks with the community and probably learned a lot from each other. Then we learned how to analyze tabular data with pandas, which was reading and writing CSV data with pandas. We learned how to query and filter and sort data frames. And pandas data frames are really powerful. And even today we've seen a lot of different functions which we probably did not explore earlier. Then we also looked at grouping and aggregation for summarizing the data. We looked at merging and joining data from multiple sources. And then we did an assignment on pandas where we applied all of these things that we learned. Finally, we had one lecture on visualization with Matplotlib and Seaborn, where we learned how to do basic visualizations with Matplotlib and advanced visualization with Seaborn. So things like line charts, scatter plots, bar charts, heat maps, and histograms. And then we also saw how to customize and style charts, how to make them beautiful. And we also saw how to plot images and how to plot multiple charts in a grid. So all of these things then we tied together into our today's lecture on exploratory data analysis, where we found a real world data set, the Stack Overflow developer survey with 65,000 responses. We loaded the data, cleaned it, pre-processed it, did exploratory analysis and visualization. Then we asked and answered questions, and we made a bunch of inferences. And now you're working on the course project where you will repeat this process on a real world data set of your choice. So that was a quick recap of the course. Now what should you do next? Try out the notebooks yourself. You can revise any of the previous lectures. You can watch the videos. You can run the notebooks. It's a one click away at any point. Definitely try out the Stack Overflow survey results and some of the exercises there. And if you have any questions, you can always ask questions on the forum. I've been saying this from the start, people who are active on the forum are the most likely to complete. So if till now you've not checked out the forum, just go to zero2pandas.com and there is a link to open up the forum. So here you can see here, there's a course community discussion forum. Any question you have, we have topics for each lecture. So any question that you have, just go to that topic and first search through that topic. It's likely that your question has already been answered. And if not, you can always post a new post on that topic. Just reply to that topic and somebody will answer it. Like, we have an amazing course community and we've been seeing huge contributions from people spending hours just answering questions from other people. So I just want to give a big thank you to them. So please do participate into the forum. Now, if you complete all the assignments and the course project, then once we evaluate all of that and you get a pass grade in all of them, then you will be issued a certificate of accomplishment. This will be a verified link hosted on jovian.ml. So it will be a page on jovian.ml, a part of your profile where it can be displayed. And this will be available for download as a PDF as well. So if you want to download it, print it out, you can do that too. And you will be able to add it on LinkedIn onto your LinkedIn profile so that anybody who visits your profile will see that you have completed a certification on data analysis with Python. And you will also be able to share it online on Twitter, Facebook, or wherever. So we've all put in a lot of effort. So we can definitely celebrate it once we earn the certificate of accomplishment. Do share it and even encourage your friends to take the course in future sessions. This is what the certificate looks like, but this will be embedded into a web page from where you will be able to download it and share this page as well. The thing you should not do is immediately do not jump to another course. Work on a project. Make your project as large and as interesting as possible, because it's not enough to say that you've done a course, and it's not enough to say that you have a certification. It's not enough to just say that you've done a small project. You should have a significant data analysis project under your belt, and it should be something that you have documented and presented well, and it should be something that you have put on your public profiles, right? So do something that you feel proud of and then put it up on your public profile, improve your professional profile, and write blog posts, write tutorials, and write guides. You can do this on Medium, you can do this on GitHub pages. There are a lot of platforms where you can write blogs. You can use Jovian to share your Jupyter notebooks, and I'll talk about that a little bit as well. But do write any guides that can help people who came before you. So look back at yourself and try to write maybe a small tutorial for that person to encourage them to demystify data science for them, or maybe just to tell them that pandas is not as scary as it might seem, or maybe just point them to this course and say that you can learn about it here. So there are a lot of resources available online for you that you now know. And so you can now curate them and share them with your community, right? So if you're a student, share them with your classmates. If you're a professional, share them with your colleagues, share them within your company. The more you share your knowledge, the better you get at it as well. Okay. And then improve your professional profile. So showcase your certificate, showcase your project on your LinkedIn profile, on your GitHub profile, on your resume. So do that. And then once you feel like you've really done a lot of work on this topic, that is the point at which you should then take more data science and machine learning courses. So do not fall into the trap of just doing a bunch of courses without any real output out of them. The best way to learn is by doing good projects. Now you can use Jovian.l to build your professional data science profile. And we are working on some very interesting improvements to the profile, a lot of which we've already added. So if you go back to just open jovian.ml and log in. So if you just go to my profile, if you're logged in. So you can see here that on your profile, you will be able to add more information. So on your profile, you will see an edit button where you can add your current designation, you can add your current university or your company. And you can also link your GitHub profile. And here you can see a collection of all the notebooks that you have created so far. So any Jupyter notebook that you create anytime, any interesting analysis that you do, just upload it to Jovian. So just run jovian.commit inside it and it will get added to your profile. You can also upload notebooks directly. If you have a Jupyter notebook somewhere on, let's say you have somewhere on GitHub or you have somewhere on your computer, you can upload that too. or you can import it from a URL. So you can do that. You can also create collections. So you can create collections where you see interesting notebooks joined together into a single collection. For instance, I have this collection on deep learning with PyTorch. I have this collection on data analysis with Python, Pandas, where I'm going to add a few more notebooks. So that's an interesting way to organize your notebooks. And you also get access to the forum as part of the profile. So try to answer questions on the forum, because that is then going to also reflect on your professional profile. The more questions you've answered, the more knowledgeable you are. That's what it is. To do use Jovian. And all these projects that are hosted on Jovian, by default, you have this really nice, beautiful, optimized view of the Jupyter notebook. You can even, these are mobile friendly views. So if you even open these on mobile, you will still be able to, they will load up really fast. We spend a lot of time just tuning the performance of these pages. If you're sharing a link to a Jupyter notebook, a lot of people are probably going to open it on mobile. And on mobile, this might not render well on different platforms. So please do use Jovian. It's a great way to share this. And it's also a great way to just show all the work that you've done, because the version history of a notebook shows how much work you've put in. So if you have a notebook with some 20 or 30 or 50 versions, and then you share that with somebody, then they can go through it and they can see that you've really put in a lot of effort into this.